Hey, it's Cory, Boldroff, the real estate guy, doing March monthly market update. I do these updates to make sure that you're informed with real facts, stats, and all the information so that you can be educated on what's going on in the real estate market. So I'm going to start off by sharing a quote from Lawrence Yun, the chief economist at the NAR, National Association for Realtors. Home sales could possibly reach 8 million if we had more inventory. Mortgage rates should remain very, very low throughout 2021, although we may have seen the lowest already. I'm not sure yet, but it seems to be that we came all the way down to the low twos, and now we're starting to tick back up, and we've already come up 30 basis points in the last couple of months, hovering right around 3%. Bringing another quote from Sam Cater, the chief economist at Freddie Mac. Since reaching a low point in January, mortgage rates has risen more than 30 basis points, and the impact on purchase demand has been noticeable. While purchase activity remains high, it has cooled off over the last few weeks and is currently on par with early March prior to the pandemic. However, the rise of mortgage rates over the next couple of months is likely to be more muted in comparison to the last couple of weeks, and we are expecting a strong spring sales season. So as you can see, rates are hovering right around 3% on a 30-year fix and right around 2.34 on a 15-year fix. And remember, as I keep saying, interest rates affect your monthly payment more than sales price does. So home prices are only going to come down as interest rates start to rise. So those interest rates will start to rise, and then we'll see the accompanying buy prices to start coming down a little bit. So if we want to look at the last couple of months of what's going on with interest rates, it started at 3.7 in 2020 of January. And over the course of the year, we saw the interest rates come down all the way to a low sometime around the beginning of January and December, and we're starting to see them tick back up. One of the big things that you see on the news and you see in the articles about this doom and gloom, real estate crash, big bubble, foreclosure market. So we want to take a look at what's going on with all the forbearances. So as you can see, a little over 50% are paid in full, meaning that people that took out a forbearance have already made it, caught up their payments, and are out of forbearance. There are about 33.6% that are either working out a repayment plan, doing some kind of modification, or doing a loan deferral, which means putting it back on at the end of their loan. And although there is no such thing as a small number as far as crises are considered, because anytime that you go into foreclosure, the individual family is hurting. But what we're seeing is that less than 13.8% are still in forbearance and have no way of coming out of forbearance. We start looking at the percentage of overall forbearances. So we're starting to see that forbearances are already starting to come down. It started in May of last year, and we're starting to come into February, and we've already seen it going from 8.4% down to 5.22%. So even though it is still a large number, it's not astronomical enough to create a crash or create a foreclosure market. About 325,000 people will exit the forbearance program over the next 6 to 9 months without a plan in place. Some, probably not all, of those loans will or may default. So yes, they come out of forbearance, they more than likely will be into default, go into foreclosure. But the good news for them is there's a lot of equity and appreciation that's happening in the meantime. So that just because they go in foreclosure doesn't mean they will get foreclosed on. They can put their houses on the market, sell those houses, and hopefully walk away with some cash in their pocket. When we look at the housing inventory to start each year, back to 2016, January, we had almost 1 million homes on the market, and we come to 2021 where there's only 325,000. So even if all 325,000, which no one is saying is going to happen, but let's say all 325,000 did have come on the market, we still would not be in an oversupply of inventory, causing an artificial downturn in the market. So what we would see is more houses being on the market, more competition, more buyers being able to come into the market and be able to compete. Instead of 10 people competing against one home, maybe 3 can compete against one home. To look at another quote, the lack of existing homes available for sale remains the only drag on the housing market potential. Many homeowners may want to upgrade, but do not fear that they will be unable to find a home to buy, preventing more supply from reaching the market and exaggerating the lack of inventory. As a result, everyone stays put and the supply of homes for sales dwindles further. The stat was that 72% of people who are thinking about selling wanted to wait until we came out of the safer at home. As we're seeing us come out of the safer at home, a lot of states are opening up, a lot of mandates are lessening, and more people are getting out into the public. But now sellers are saying, well, if I sell my house, where am I going to go? The only thing that I could give you some reassurance is the amount of leverage that sellers have right now in today's market. It allows someone to put their houses in the market and do a home contingency, meaning that they have to find their home of choice in order to close escrow. There's also times where buyers are allowing sellers to rent back for 3 to 6 months at a time. So there's a lot of options that sellers can do, but right now might be one of the very best times to sell. When we look at a year-over-year change in listings, we look at the total listings from March of last year down to now. We're exponentially getting less and less listings, and new listings, they spikes and rises. But right now we took a huge dip. And it's kind of like the market is on hold, which is only hurting the market and causing an artificial rise in prices. Home sales continue to ascend in the first month of the year as buyers quickly snatched up virtually every new listing that came on the market. All those realtors that are out there doing expired listings probably aren't staying in business right now because not too many expired listings. Sales easily could have been 20% higher if there had been more inventory and more choices. When you look at the best time to sell, the sweet spot, you always look at the inventory levels of months of supply. Back in January of 2020, about February, we had a dip in the market. A lot of people got scared of the COVID, took their houses on the market, or were afraid to put their houses on the market. So we had a sweet spot and we had a little spike in sales prices. Then as inventory rose a little bit, people started getting towards the summer, which is usually May to June is always listing month. But since then, we've come all the way down. And right now, we're about a 1.9 months on the market, which is very, very low. Usually we want to be right around 90 to 120 days average on the market. Right now we're less than, in some markets even less than 30 days. So right now is one of the sweetest times to sell your home just because there's not a lot of competition. The house is not going to sit, and you're going to have lots of buyers frantic to get one of the only houses on the market. As the COVID-19 vaccines become more available and the economy improves, predicts that more homeowners realizing the equity gains in their homes will list their existing homes, and that could help alleviate some house shortages. But we come to home price appreciation. We've seen a really strong appreciation growth that happened last year. In some cases, it was over 10%. So a lot of people might not realize how much equity and how much the house has grown. So if you're thinking about selling, or maybe you just want to know what your house is worth, give me a call. I'll give you a market update, a market analysis, and see what your house is worth today. 2020 final house appreciation numbers. According to the Federal Housing and Finance Agency, the housing price index was 10.8%. So we had a 10.8% average appreciation rate across the country. 9.2% according to CoreLogic, and according to S&P, we had 10.4%. So all basically saying close to the exact same appreciation rate, which is right around 10%. Meaning a typical homeowner in 2020, just by being a homeowner, they would have accumulated around $24,000 in housing wealth. I know personally for myself, we bought 2 years ago and our house has appreciated over $120,000. Now we did put some money into the house, but that is a lot of appreciation growth that has happened in the 2 years. I know what you're thinking. Nationally, house buying power continues to exceed the median sales price, and that implies housing is not overvalued today. A lot of people are paying over a listing price for sure, but over appraised price means that the lender gets an appraisal and the buyers are willing to pay over that amount. But there's a lot of buyers that are willing to pay that. There's a lot of money that's been pumped into our economy. So the government has, in the last 2 years, has pumped in over $6 trillion into our economy. That money had to have gone somewhere, and it has put artificially a lot of cash in people's pockets. I have not ever seen, since 2004, I have not seen this much cash, this many cash buyers buying houses. The home price forecast for 2021, we have as high as another great year of 10% appreciation, all the way down to CoreLogic being about 3.3%, which they're usually the most conservative. So we're right around a healthy rate of 5.9% appreciation, which is a very healthy appreciation rate over a 40-year period. We historically appreciate by 3 to 5% if you take all the dips and rises in it. So we're right there in the average, which is a very healthy spot to be. If we look at and compare annual home price appreciation, just in case you're thinking, oh no, we're creating another bubble, it's gonna burst. From 2002 to 2005, we averaged about 10.3% year over year. Some years coming over 12.5%, but most of them in the double digits. When we come and compare it to what's happened this last 4 years, from 2016 to 2020, we have a 6.3% appreciation rate. So we're much healthier appreciating than we were in 2002 to the 2008 crash. So again, just another reason why this housing bubble that the news likes to talk about and just doom and gloom, people like to talk about, it doesn't have enough validity to their statements. There's just way too much equity. Interest rates are way too low. People are very, very cash heavy. So it just doesn't feel like we're going to have that housing bubble. If you look over the whole year-over-year change in prices over the United States, we have 10.8% average. On the West Coast, we have 11.6%. All the way over to the East Coast and to the northern East Coast, we have 12.6%. The most surprising one is that mountain area, the Midwest. And that's because a lot of people are moving out of California, out of the East Coast, and they're moving to that Midwest where there's affordable housing, big properties, being in that commuter town, being in the cities isn't so important to everyone. Everyone wants their space and to have affordable housing. So we've seen a lot of appreciation in those different states. Consumers reported a significantly more positive view of home selling conditions. So when they took the surveys, people are really, really confident about what's going on in the market, and they're very, looking at things optimistically where the housing industry is going to go. As always, if you're thinking about selling, I have a free 2021 seller's guide on what to do to sell your house and get the most value for it. And if you're thinking about buying, I also have a buyer's guide to teach you how to prepare yourself for the market, and especially this market, being ready for multiple bids, overbids, and really being on top of it to be able to compete. So again, if you guys have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm always here to help, never pressure. Cory Boldroff, the real estate guy.